Welcome to Dunamis Woman and RAM today. RAM is an acronym for Real Awesome Men. And we here at Dunamis Woman, being a woman of power, standing up in our own authenticity, understand that we are daughters of Sarah, only designed to birth kings. So men come from our belly. Awesome men. Do you believe that, Michelle?
Believe that.
So we thank you for being here on the show with us, and we definitely want you to stay tuned because we got some real talk.
Yes, we do.
And Michelle, we have been really talking about the things that are perplexing our community. It's an epidemic.
Yes.
It's an epidemic of suicide,
Yes.
epidemic of betrayal, epidemic of victimizations, epidemic of hurt.
Pain.
Pain.
Unforgiveness.
Correct.
Women competing with one another, not feeling whole, and then allowing our minds to be taken,
Correct.
our thoughts
Correct.
to be taken, and how it's impacting our children, our communities,
Our
as
community.
you said it.
Correct.
And how it's impacting one of us. I mean, all of us, men
Correct.
and women together. You know, we were not meant to have strife
No.
between us.
No.
We were not meant to live the way that we're living now. And order has to abound. Order will abound.
Well, and we're constantly at a place of strife where there's strife and anger and anguish between man and woman, because even in Proverbs it talks about where there's strife and contention, there's pride. And man is made in the image and in the likeness of God, so they're really God with a little g.
Yes.
They are the mere reflection of God. And even Satan himself, Lucifer, he was created like unto God, and he got puffed up in himself and he said, okay, I want to take it just a step further. I'm so close to you, I want to be you. And that's what man is saying in the very depths of their soul, that I don't really need you because I am so much like you, I can be my own God.
Exactly.
And it's a spirit of pride. And now we as women are saying, you know what? I need you to be back into the presence of God. I need you to see yourself as being dependent upon God, because we need to be dependent upon them. And anything that is prideful, God turns his face away from
Correct.
it. And as you can see, if he turned his face away from it, it leaves us open prey to not our enemy, but to our Father's enemy.
You know, it just reminds me, and I always get personal, it just reminds me of when I went through the sting of infidelity, and when I went through the sting of divorce, and the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of hopelessness, and the feeling that I was just out there by myself. Physically I was, but then it went to my mental state, and it really impacted me. And that whole thing, and now it impacts my child. You know,
Yeah.
I'm trying to be this mother, but I wasn't made to be single.
No.
I'm trying to be this woman, but I have voids. And I'm covering these voids up with whatever I'm doing. I ain't gonna
Correct.
tell y'all all my little dirty secrets. But, but I'm covering these voids up.
Yeah.
And it's a slow death. And it's keeping me at a place where I don't want to be.
And that's the importance of emotional healing.
It is.
Emotional healing. Because you can't share your wounds with everyone. You only can bear your heart and your soul in the midst of other people who are bold enough to say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of all this stuff too. Because you know how you've told something to somebody and they weren't able to handle it and they use it against you?
Yes.
Because they wasn't able to handle the truth themselves. And so when we create the setting of emotional healing for the ones who come, they're saying, I don't have no reason to judge you.
Right.
I am so in touch with the feelings of your infirmities, and I'm experiencing streams of healing, and you're experiencing streams of healing, because our honesty and transparency and embracing one another is bringing healing to each other.
You know, before I came to emotional healing, I thought I was perfect. I promise you.
I
don't
remember
think I
that.
had
You
any
really
issue.
did, didn't you?
I thought I was perfect.
You really did.
And I knew I wasn't going to talk in front of you all because I didn't know you all. I didn't want you to judge me. But the more and more that you all were transparent, it allowed me to open up. And had I not opened up, it was killing me inside, not to be honest. And through emotional healing, my process is beginning. My process of healing. I didn't know who I was as a woman. That was the crazy part.
Correct.
I was a mother, a daughter, a wife,
a sister,
a cousin. did not know who I was as a woman. You could have asked, and you did ask me, what do you like? And I told you everybody else's likes except for mine. Simple stuff. And now that I'm going through emotional healing, the woman,
Correct.
the true woman,
Is rising.
is rising.
Becoming born again.
Bold. You know, and when I came, I was very timid.
Yes.
Very timid, and I still have some again, it's a process.
It is.
But emotional healing allowed that to come out. It's truth that's being spoken. It's realness that's being spoken. If you think this is real, this setting, emotional healing, it gets down into the deep crevices of your soul. It gets to that root we've been talking about.
That root, yeah.
And it breaks up that ground.
Correct.
You know, so whatever needs to come out needs to come on out.
Correct.
It's like a sore, I'm going to tell you. And when you bust that sore and all that stuff come out, that ugly, festering stuff, that's what emotional healing does.
Correct.
It doesn't put a Band-Aid on it.
Correct.
It allows that thing to burst, and then it allows it to air out and heal naturally. Because healing is from the inside
It's from
out.
the inside out.
And we try to medicate alcohol. I'm going to tell you my little secret. Alcohol, sex. You know, all of that stuff was a Band-Aid for that sore.
Yes.
But emotional healing brought it up. I didn't need that Band-Aid anymore because now I was able to deal with that nastiness coming out.
And I'm really reminded when you were speaking, because we don't really understand the necessity of that emotional healing. I've been a clinical therapist, served in that profession for 20 plus years, and just dealing with the mind. And I'm listening to all these emotions. And when you go by the rule book of school, when you go by the rule book of theory, when you go by all those things, which I really was never good at, you know what I mean? They're trying to condition you to their method and their way.
Right.
And so I was always a believer, and God would be speaking, to me in sessions, because I don't hear like other people hear. I hear, that's what the hearing is about. So the thing is that God was like, I want you to hear this, I want you to hear that. And when you begin to challenge the mind that they have to deal with the emotions, fear will come up.
Right.
Because you can't medicate emotions. You're just really medicating the mind that you don't think about something and you suppress it, but the emotions are steadily going. It's a movement. It's steadily moving. It's steadily moving. And so that's what it stemmed from emotional healing, because he took me all away from that system and he said, now I want you to bring your clinical skills and your biblical belief of what I'm going to reveal to you to bring healing to the soul of man and woman.
And you know what is also key? Both of those together. And now you are coaching people, because you talked about behaviors in another episode. We're trying to change these behaviors, but we're not getting down to
the root
of it.
The root.
And so the coaching allows you, now that you have the knowledge, understanding your greatness coaching gives you understand the knowledge. Now you're applying it to make those changes. And we always talk about strategies, skill, and timing. And that's what you get
when you're being the coach.
When you're coached.
And Michelle, many people don't understand that, but as long as we keep doing the same thing, think we're getting different results, our mind is very, very insane. I want you to listen to this commercial, because we have a wonderful event that's going to bring back life to you as a woman of power. I'm Pastor D, Michelle Obasi. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. I am taking this time to personally invite you, a woman of power, a Dunamis woman, a woman that has strength, has a militance, have a force, that is able to produce miracles after miracles after miracles. If you do not tend to you, my question is, who will? For far too long, we're looking for external forces and external things to do for us what we really have been designed to do for ourselves. And that's just take out some time. Take out some time from the hustle and the bustle. Take out some time from our responsibilities. Take out some time from serving in our home and in our churches and our jobs. And take out time that's carved especially for you to celebrate you. Well, the month of March is what has been commercialized to celebrate Women's History Month. And we're going to come in agreement with that. We're going to take time for me to celebrate you, you to celebrate me, and to celebrate a host of women that you don't even know. But this is the time for us to get to know one another. If you're an entrepreneur, it's a great time to network. If you are a businesswoman, it's a great opportunity to network. If you are a mother, it's a great time to network. If you are a wife, it's a great time to network. If you are single and unmarried and don't really care about ever being married again, guess what? It's a great time to network. So we want to invite you out on March 22nd. Dunamis Woman presents Lips, lovely, intelligent, powerful, and sexy women. Get your sexy back. Get your power back. Get your intelligence back, because you know what to do already. You just haven't made a decision to do it. And most of all, walk in your lovelyhood. You are a lovely woman. And if you don't think it, nobody else will. So we got a real awesome men panel that we're going to talk about dynamics of a relationships, that we will never be robbed again from the true beauty and the power of what we created to be on the inside. Whether it be your father, whether it be your brother, whether it be your husband, whether it be your son, whether it be your nephew, we want real talk, because there's some answers that are not just in us, but it's in our men. I am Dee Collins. I am the host. I am a Dunamis woman, and I look to see you there. Go to the website. It's right there on the screen. You got any questions, give us a call, because I look to see you there right here in the city of Chicago, northwest suburbs. You'll be there, and I'll be there too. Take care. Talk to you soon. Well, there you have it. Information about Women's History Celebration, that a Dunamis woman, every woman of power, need to come out and celebrate themselves. But we don't want to forget about the women who have broke through many barriers, Michelle, that we may be able to be here today, you know. And that's for a black woman, a Caucasian woman, a Philippine woman, an Indian woman, an Arab woman. All of us are women. And that's why the enemy loves to keep us divided and with dissension and a whole lot of stuff. Because when women come together, our power, just by us being who we are and our own authenticity, is explosive. So come on out, March 22nd. Go to our website, www.dunamis-woman.com, and get your ticket today, because I want to tell you, you are lovely, you are intelligent, you are powerful, and you are sexy. You know what, Michelle? I love being a woman. You know, and I'm going back to what you were saying. I was so busy in motherhood, wifehood, prayerhood, intercessory prayer, ministering to the folks, all their problems, sisterhood. They was asking me for money, and I was doing all this for other people, cousinhood, friendhood, and I did not know who I was as a woman. Right. And it's detrimental when you lose who you don't even know. Duh. Yeah, that's all I can say. Yeah, that happens to me. So when he began to show me who I was from a spiritual and biblical perspective as his woman that he created, but I'm first his daughter. Yes. It really renewed my mind, and I cherish me as a woman. I am not going to lose my womanhood trying to be some stiff-necked old pastor. You know what you're talking about is a movement, and when you mentioned at the break the commercial. About, you know, come out and be empowered. That's a movement. It is. It is a movement for women to stand up in who they are as women. And I can still be graceful and lovely. Who you are. Girl, I enjoy it. And you're supposed to. I enjoy it. You know, to say you are sexy as a pastor. What did you just say? She's sexy. You know, that's liberation. If you're sexy and you know it, clap your hands. I'm serious. You know, that's the truth. And that's the movement. Yes. And that's why I admonish you to come out for that. Yes. Because it's a movement. It is. We are Dunamis Women, a real awesome men, international ministries, just the magazine. It's a movement. Yes. It's about liberating ourselves, getting free, but not for ourselves. Yes. It's to birth those men. Yes. You know, we talk about, we don't believe that we can birth kings. Yes. And that's what we were here to do. Yes. That's what we are here to do. And that's why we have so many women who don't want to come to the church, because they like who they are in their false sense of self, and they have to come out to be able to know how to bring their true sense of self out. Right. And then you have the other ones in the church who got a false sense of self, and they saying, I don't want to be like that, and this group over here saying, I don't want to be like that, and everybody divided and jacked up because both of them in their false sense of self, because we're first made a woman. You know what I'm saying? We have to learn how to understand who we are. Right. Woman is who I am. Mother is my profession. Those kids are going to grow up and move out. And so many men and women are left looking at each other because they put all their validity in the mother and the father, and they handicapping grown kids who can't get off their titty financially. And I promise you, that child is growing up dysfunctional. Most definitely. As much as we think we are helping, when your child doesn't see you operate as a man and a woman, not just a mother and a father, but a man and a woman, that child is dysfunctional, and they don't know how to deal with their own stuff. It's healthy emotions to see a man go around the house and give his woman affection. You see what I'm saying? And don't be so caught up in all this work of ministry or all this work of your profession, and you don't know how to stop and be that man and the woman to tend to one another's needs. That's health and medicine for the soul of the children and the household and the environment and your church. Yes. To see it. Kiss, you know what I'm saying? Lady. Openly. Openly. I'm telling you. Hold your man's hand if he's a pastor.
openly walk in the church.
Come on
Give
now.
him a back rub before he go, oh, I know you love him. Do not be so stiff-necked.
There you go.
And
but you have to experience emotional healing to
do.
get to that
You
level
do.
of freedom.
You do.
Because there's a process. Healing, deliverance, and then freedom.
Yes, ma'am.
And many say we are free, but we're not free because we haven't been healed in the depths of our soul to free us to be who we are. And deliverance is a process. I have to learn who I am. I have to pardon myself. That's what deliverance is. I'm pardoning me. I have to pardon myself and permit myself to make mistakes.
Right.
I have to permit myself and pardon. Excuse me, you know what? You messed that one up again, but you get it right. Now I'm getting it right because I learned from my mistakes. So I'm getting deliverance because I recognize this is in me and it's damaging me. So I got to get healed from it in order to get delivered. And once I understand the deliverance process, then I'm free. I'm free to be me. And you can't make me go back to that.
Right.
Can't nobody make me go back to religion in a stiff-necked way at gunpoint. Because I'm free. Does that make sense? But I know how to use a manner of conduct. Just as though I go and you go into the bank and they tell you no cell phones while you're at the teller window. So now you use that manner of conduct while you're at the teller's window because you're in the bank. So that's respectful. So I'm not going to go to church and be obnoxious because I have a manner of conduct that's respecting myself. I don't dress a certain way because I respect myself, and my value is not worth you seeing everything about me.
Correct.
But I do want to show my shape.
Correct.
Because I'm not going to be petite and wearing a muumuu dress.
No.
Only for you to get your stuff together.
Right. You know, that when you're talking about that, it makes me appreciate the ministries that we have, working in the various churches and seeing the transformation of the women who are in the women's ministries, and they're hurting and they're so closed in, but to see the transformation when they really identify themselves as a woman, they really identify themselves as believers who can be who God called them to be openly. And that's the ministries that we're doing inside the churches is so key.
Right. It's so key. But the thing about it, what's so beautiful about it, and I know I cut you off, so I ain't gonna say I didn't mean to, because I know I did. What's so beautiful about it is that it enhances the women's ministry at that church. And just think about it, when the women are now whole and healed in Zechariah Missionary Baptist Church, now the pastor is reaping more of the benefits of women becoming healed. Women gonna either do two things. They're gonna either tear it up or they're gonna enhance it. Women are more powerful. We can jack something up or we can make it the best thing there is. Right. So when the women's ministry become whole and understanding, it makes that women's ministry and that women's leader more effective to solidify things in the church on behalf of the pastor, who is the visionary, that now his job is not so laborious because he got womb bearers. And now we have done our job to bring healing and we go out.
Exactly.
Now you got the flip side of the coin, who you got insecure leaders who think that that's a threat to them. So now we deal with that differently by saying, okay, call us when you really get ready, when you really get ready. Right. But just to see that God is using Dunamis Woman Ministries, not RAM, but the Dunamis Woman Ministries, to go in there and enrich other women and bring healing to the soul, that they may stay. And now undergird the mission. That's our position.
Yes.
Is to submit. And then when God give us a mission, the men can submit to the women's mission, because a man loves to see a woman thrive and be healed. Because when you heal, you respect. When you heal, you're a silent woman, but you understand your power. When you heal, you no longer nag. When you heal, you fulfill your responsibilities no matter what, because God has given me the ability to respond to every situation. Now, you're going to tell me a man don't want his woman to be healed? A pastor wouldn't want the women in his church to be healed, because it makes the church environment more healthier.
Exactly.
And now God can add to that number. God is not going to release people to come to be hurt no more, not in this Kairos season, because there's too much church hurt.
It is.
Well, we'll be right back again, and we're going to wrap it up, Michelle, and we're going to close it out, because God is doing great things right here just for you. I'm Pastor D. We'll be right back. I am taking this time to personally invite you, a woman of power, a dunamis woman, a woman that has strength, has a militance, have a force, that is able to produce miracles after miracles after miracles. If you do not tend to you, my question is, who will? For far too long, we're looking for external forces and external things to do for us what we really have been designed to do for ourselves. And that's just take out some time. Take out some time from the hustle and the bustle. Take out some time from our responsibilities. Take out some time from serving in our home and in our churches and our jobs. And take out time that's carved especially for you to celebrate you. Well, the month of March is what has been commercialized to celebrate Women's History Month. And we're going to come in agreement with that. We're going to take time for me to celebrate you, you to celebrate me, and to celebrate a host of women that you don't even know. But this is the time for us to get to know one another. If you're an entrepreneur, it's a great time to network. If you are a businesswoman, it's a great opportunity to network. If you are a mother, it's a great time to network. If you are a wife, it's a great time to network. If you are single and unmarried and don't really care about ever being married again, guess what? It's a great time to network. So we want to invite you out on March 22nd. Dunamis Woman presents Lips. Lovely, intelligent, powerful, and sexy women. Get your sexy back. Get your power back. Get your intelligence back because you know what to do already. You just haven't made a decision to do it. And most of all, walk in your lovelyhood. You are a lovely woman. And if you don't think it, nobody else will. So we got a real awesome men panel that we're going to talk about dynamics of our relationships, that we will never be robbed again from the true beauty and the power of what we created to be on the inside. Whether it be your father, whether it be your brother, whether it be your husband, whether it be your son, whether it be your nephew, we want real talk because there's some answers that are not just in us, but it's in our men. I am Dee Collins. I am the host. I am a Dunamis woman, and I look to see you there. Go to the website. It's right there on the screen. You got any questions, give us a call because I look to see you there right here in the city of Chicago, northwest suburbs. You'll be there and I'll be there too. Take care. Talk to you soon. Well, there you have it once again, because we want you to be reminded that you are a woman of power who have broken through many barriers for great success. And that's just a sneak preview of a whole lot of things that we have coming up because, Michelle, God is doing great exploits, you know, and let me say this, to spearhead and pioneer a ministry strictly from vision, you have to be relentless. You do. You have to break through barriers for great success, and that's what a Dunamis woman does. And out of this, God has given me Dunamis Woman and Real Awesome Men magazine. You know, one thing evolves into another and another, and the magazine is growing leaps and bounds, and we're just so honored that this dual front cover, right, a real awesome man representing men, which is Marvin Sapp, will be on that cover, and God just blessed me to be able to interview such a wonderful, awesome man in this season because God is doing great exploits. And then for myself to be graced on the front cover with him, I am totally honored. But we definitely want you all to get a copy of that magazine because we're going to be doing some things with the magazine and the ministry simultaneously. And one thing I love about him is because he's a worshiper, but he got a message in his mouth. Yes, he does. That you have yet to hear. And we'll give you more about that. But as we continue to move forward, and then we have this renowned speaker, Lisa Bevere. Yes, ma'am. That we're going to have an awesome Woman of Power conference, Awakening the Lioness. Oh, okay. You know, we as women of power have a roar down on the inside of us. That first of all, that roar is telling Satan no more. No more. No more. Yeah. That roar is saying no more. No longer have any of that. So we really want you all to visit our website, get connected, because that is going to be an awesome, wonderful conference. She's an international speaker of Messenger International Ministries, and she goes across the globe, but we are so honored to have her here where she and I will be sharing a platform to ignite the power that is inside of every woman and to bring that lioness out. You know, and she has a real awesome man as her husband, John Bevere, and they have written a plethora of books, you know, and, you know, in the ministry we read A Bait of Satan, you know, so I really want to admonish everyone, you know, to get connected. Emotional healing. Emotional healing. And I just look at the journey and how the two women, you and Lisa, are able to even come together. No issues. None. You know, working simultaneously. But it's because both of you have experienced a level of healing. Correct. Correct.
You know.
Correct. And she talks about that.
And she does. And that is so key. That is so not stated in anyone's ministry that I know of, but it's so important that we have a level of healing as women.
Correct.
So that we can go and do what it is that we're supposed
Correct.
to do.
Correct.
And just imagine what's going to be birthed out of this.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I'd see this really birthed in men, women, families, and also communities. But it starts with emotional healing.
And you stated it very well about level of healing. You have to get to a certain level of healing in order to go from another level. And that's why the Bible talks about from glory to glory. However, Dunamis Women Ministries, we are spearheading this kingdom movement that we may be able to bring healing to that first level, that you may be able to come back and go to the next level by the time we go from this conference. You know, women who have not experienced healing, a first level of healing in the depths of their soul. First of all, they brush it off and think that they all this and all that, and they don't want to get connected. Then second of all, they will come get connected, and when you speak truth, if they don't have an ear to hear, they'll get offended.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So even when the enemy keeps us from being divided, that's him just saying two visions will work. And women are to carry one vision and one cause, and that's to see our men set free from suicide, perversion, all these things that are coming to arrest them, because when the enemy gets them out of the way, we are open target. We are open target. And when we're not fulfilled, then our children is an open target. When we're not covered, our children, because he will wear us out and wear us down. And it's too many women that are carrying baggage and luggage that they were never designed to carry. Well, we thank you for tuning in to Dunamis Women in Ramp today right here. I am Pastor D, and I would love to connect with you because you are a woman of greatness. The key is, in all thy getting, get an understanding. So we want you to understand the greatness and the power that you possess. Give us a call, 1-855-BE-DUNAMIS. We'll love to engage with you. We have a mighty team that will call you back, pray with you, and meet the very needs of your soul in Jesus' name. We'll talk soon. God bless you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Dunamis, Dunamis woman, woman. Dunamis, Dunamis woman.